everyone, and welcome to the third Caregiver Conversations for CCYAN. If you're interested in more of these caregiver conversations, you can check them out via the links in the YouTube description below or on the CCYAN YouTube channel or website video content section, which are also linked in the video description. So for this third caregiver conversation, I'm very excited to have my friend here with me. We're going to call her Kelly throughout this video, but that is not her real name. She will be answering some of my questions about what it has been like to be a caregiver to me through my IBD journey. So welcome, Kelly, to the caregiver conversations.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on some of these questions. So, I'm going to jump right in. I'll ask you the questions that we discussed earlier, but I'll also maybe ask you some follow-up questions. And I just want the aim of this conversation to be as honest and casual as possible so people get a real insight into what it's like to be a friend to someone with IBD, and then also the perspective of someone who has been diagnosed with IBD. I'm very grateful to have you as a friend who supported me through all of that. So yeah, just the point of this series is to give just a realistic experience to our viewers. So my first question to you is, what have you learned about IBD through this journey as a friend to someone with IBD? And so what did you know about it before, and then what did you learn um, as you supported me through it?
So, because of my medical background, I had some idea just from like book knowledge about what it was in terms of having an inflammatory illness. And it was very like theoretical knowledge, but not having actually known someone that has gone through it, I didn't know, I guess, how impactful it would be. And it is not just like that person, but of course their relationships, their family, and how I guess all encompassing it is. And to experience that is obviously very different than just kind of knowing what it does at a cellular level. So I think it was a very different perspective. And I guess very eye opening to have that experience that was, more real world, so to speak.
Right. So like what would you say, I guess, is the textbook kind of understanding of IBD, like just super briefly, and then how do you think is that different then, or is it holding true to what you kind of saw then in real life?
Uh, so I guess, I mean, I'm like thinking very specific, like, Crohn's versus IBD, like ulcerative colitis, like what's different about it, different areas that it affects, different medications you would use, or something very kind of almost layout of this happens, then you could do either this or this, or you do surgery, or do you do medication, or so that was kind of my understanding of not just that, I mean most illnesses, but to that kind of I guess just pure science background. So then it's very different. I think in general, when you have somebody that's going through it, their experience of what that actually entails, like going through surgery, hospital, recovery, all of that is very, I guess it's not a very big thing that you think about when you're just trying to learn about what everything is. So I guess that's where I was.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And kind of this feeds in well to the next question, which is, you talk about that experience of living through something. So, how do you feel that supporting someone through IBD has affected your life? And what would you say was the most challenging aspect?
I think it was like a very like emotional toll, like not really knowing what's going on. And I think just with even not even I guess necessarily specific to IBD, but just knowing someone so well or being so close to someone that's going through a chronic illness, like back and forth to the hospital. Things are going well, and then they're not going well, and like it's a very back and forth, which I think that was a adjustment of like I guess just hearing about it, of course, but like I'd come see you, things would be fine, you'd be in the hospital, and then you'd be discharged, and then like 2 weeks later, actually, I went back for like IV treatment, or I went back for like infusions, or so I think just it like is a very not I don't want to say cyclical, but like it's not like a progressive trajectory of oh things are better and things are good and now everything is calm. So I think not having like the textbook info is very you do this, things get better, you do that, and then things get better, and then you don't really think about like oh actually you progress backwards, I guess not regress and then progress, and you like there's a lot of back and forth which I don't think is very well reiterated. So I think that was um difficult to see, and just kind of how it was affecting you in school, and like all the moving back and forth. And I think it was a lot to like even just come and see you, like meet your family and see what that was like. And it was just hard, I think, which yeah, it was a different slash new experience for me, not having known someone otherwise in my like immediate circle that had gone through something similar.
Yeah, I think in the previous caregiver conversations, this also came up, just like the volatility and unpredictability of it. And what I always appreciate is like all of my caregivers are kind of there through thicker and thin. 'Cause yeah, I think it's really hard. We just don't know what's happening. I remember we've had to change plans last minute, or like always come up with plans last minute. Like I remember one year, I think we were going to go to New York for New Year's. And probably like a week before I said, I can't, I'm really sick again. Or yeah, pretty much any travel plan we've made, I'm always like, I'll tell you, I'll confirm, but closer to the day of, which I'm sure is like a lot of stress to also have to then plan last minute, given your own work and your own schedule, right?
Yeah, right. I think in a way though, but on the flip side, I'll say I think I am really grateful for how much we have been able to travel, or how much we have been able to plan, especially being long distance. Like, I think in and of itself is hard to try to coordinate. But then on top of that, like, as much traveling as we've done, given all of the sort of, conditions, I think is that's the thing. I look at it and I'm like, wow, I can't believe we've done so much because of, I think it's like, say you bat 10, 9 fail, but that one that goes through, that's the one you remember. So I'm like, yeah, okay. See, we still have a pretty good overall batting average, I would say. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's always because when you're in the bad times, it always feels like, oh, I don't know when I'll be able to do something good and fun again. And so I
yeah.
agree. Yeah, I've been fortunate to have those opportunities at all. And yeah, you're right. Like many of them can't go through, but the ones that do, we kind of just like try our best to make it count for something, you know? So for sure. Um, okay, so switching gears just a little bit. I guess you mentioned like a lot of our friendship is has been long distance, and we always try to find, ways to see each other, even if I'm in the hospital, you'll come see me kind of thing, or we'll travel and things like that. So a lot of people who have IBD can be diagnosed as children and young adults. And knowing what you know about IBD now, beyond the textbook and more into like just the kind of real life management of it, what advice would you give to someone with IBD who is trying to make friends? And then what about to someone who is trying to be a friend to someone with IBD?
That's a big question. So for I guess, as someone who's trying to make friends, um, just in general, I mean, even without the IBD, I find that that's hard, especially as I think it's different now than if you think back to 20 years ago when you were kids, just with I don't know, technology and social media, everything is different. It feels like in that regard, but um, I think patience is a big thing, and like understanding and having people that um, have that foundation is important. Um, I guess just relaying back to even before the IBD, like I remember that there were other instances, like if you were sick or something, like I would still like keep in touch or I would still like reach out. And I think it doesn't necessarily have to be a chronic thing, even just in like short illnesses, but like having people that are like able to have that sort of space for you is important. And I think that requires a lot of like patients understanding of what's going on. And not necessarily they have to know everything that, you know, you're going through, but even just like, you know, there is this thing that you have to just kind of have this space for this person. And I think that would be important to look for in somebody. The flip side of that, I think, would be I think I mean I've learned this now, but like you had mentioned before, like you know plans change and like things are not always going to go as planned. But I think I've actually adopted that now to my own life, where I'm like even if I you know make a plan or whatever for my own health or for something else, like I think I'm more understanding of things not always going that way. So I think like having that sort of perspective um for somebody else and like it doesn't bother me like I don't get upset like of course I'm worried or I'm concerned that you know you're not doing well or you're going through like a flare or something but like it's less of a priority to me that like okay the plans don't go through so like I think that has shifted over time versus I think when you're younger you have that like you know, my plan didn't work out. Now I'm mad. Now I'm upset. And I think that takes time and maturity, but like kind of having that insight as someone who's a young adult or, you know, someone who's a child, like, you know, just another facet of how things may not work out. I think that sort of, I guess, knowledge or wisdom.
Yeah, I think your advice is like try to be patient and find people who are patient around you.
Yeah.
Which is actually good advice. I mean, it's just I think it could be hard to know, right, until you actually approach somebody and test the waters, but it's so important. Yeah, I think as someone with IBD, it's not that I want to be flaky or not have plans. In fact, I love having plans of action, but it can't
Yeah.
always be possible to like follow through. So, yeah, having people who have space and patience for that is so important. And I also liked your point about social media because I do think that's changed a lot of things. Um, Even over the last year when I was part of the CCYAN fellowship and just having social media through that, I was able to connect with people who were in a similar boat, and I would never be able to do that physically because we're just not all located in the same space. But I think, yeah, social
Mhm.
media kind of can help you make these friendships. So that's definitely a good point, but it makes it sound old. So, okay. So my next question for you is, and I don't know actually, so I'm actually curious, right? So what resources or sources of support helped you be a caregiver? So like as my friend, did you ever have to like Google something or I don't know, talk to anybody? Did you have to seek support or were you just like you just came packaged as like a good IBD friend?
Um, I think as far as the friend thing goes, I think that I like it was just like learning how to be supportive. I don't know that it was necessarily something I sought out support for. I would say probably sometimes I would like look up very specific things, like, you know, if there's like a new treatment or a new surgery or something, I think I would try to be like, okay, I want to know what specifically this is. Like, how is this going to actually affect you? So those sorts of things, I think I would like try to be a little bit more aware of. But yeah, I don't think it was a specific support system. I guess I relied on my own support system if I wasn't feeling like I was being very supportive. But yeah, no, I think it was mainly just, showing up and then seeing how things played out.
All right. Okay, so I mean, I think that's the end of most of my questions and also of our time, but is there anything else you wanted to add, before I wrap this up?
Um, I guess I just wanted to say I'm always in awe of how wonderfully you navigated this. And it may not seem like it at all the times and ups and downs, but I am incredibly proud of how you've gone through all of this and accomplished all that you've accomplished. And yeah, I just love you so much. So it's like nice to see that, especially even being involved in this fellowship. I think it's incredible that you're sharing your experience and helping others, get through whatever they're going through with that. So yeah, I'm just
Oh,
happy for you,
thank
proud of you.
you. Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad that I've had your friendship for so many years before IBD and then through IBD and today. So thank you. Thank you for being there. And
Yeah,
so with that
absolutely.
note, I'm going to wrap up our third caregiver conversation. And I hope you keep following these and learn something from them, or they support you in some way. Okay, bye everyone.